Hey, what's up, dude?
Oh, not much. Just got my brand new camera to unbox it.
Wait, didn't you just get into photography like a week ago?
Yeah, my phone just isn't cutting it anymore.
Did you just buy a full frame camera because everyone else has one?
No, I didn't watch any Daniel Schiffer reviews or Peter McKinnon videos.
I didn't ask, but you do know that you could have saved like $2,000 if you did a little bit of research.
I wanted the best quality possible. People online said that full frame were the best. And my mom said she'd help pay for half of it.
Well, it's not about the size of the sensor, but it's more so how you use it.
Well, what do you think I should do?
All I'm trying to say is, bigger doesn't always mean better, Dyson.
Oh, really? Well, that kind of helps my confidence.
Over the past year or so, I've been torn on whether or not to upgrade my APS-C camera to a full frame. Now there's a lot of things to go through when making decisions like this, so I'm going to do my best to give you guys the information that you need in order to move forward with your photography or videography career. When I first started my photography career, I was shooting on a Canon Rebel, weren't we all? As we know, Canon Rebels can only get us so far, so I eventually upgraded to a Sony a7 Mark II, as I was getting into video at the time. This was my first ever full frame camera. At the time, I spent around $800, which was a steal. After owning and using a full frame and APS-C camera for over 3 years now, I have come to my own conclusion on which was better for me, and I have compiled a short list with the information that you need in order to make your decision. So the first thing that comes to mind when I think about full frame versus crop sensor is budget. If you are just starting out and do not have a list of paying clients, you are going to have to take the money out of your own pocket to buy that first camera, so keep that in mind. If you have money saved up and can afford that full frame camera, I would recommend first ensuring that you have quality glass and proper lighting. Once you have those boxes checked, you can look into upgrading your camera. Do you already have APS-C lenses or do you have full frame lenses? These are some questions that you're going to need to ask yourself before making the leap into a new camera body. Generally speaking, APS-C cameras will be much cheaper than full frame cameras and much smaller, but this does not mean that they cannot compete with full frame bodies. The next topic that you need to think about before getting a new camera is, where is your work being seen? Many full frame cameras have 24 plus megapixel sensors, which are often used whenever a brand needs to print their work onto billboards or any large form of advertising. APS-C cameras, on the other hand, will usually have 24 megapixel sensors or smaller. If you are using a camera to shoot work that will only be seen on a screen, such as an iPhone, a TV, etc., do you really need that huge 40 megapixel sensor? Probably not. Now, I'm not saying that you cannot print off photos using an APS-C camera, because you can. I've printed off photos as large as 20 inches by 30 inches, and they were shot using my Sony a6400. And the quality is crystal clear. I probably wouldn't go any larger than that with an APS-C sensor, but keep in mind I was using quality lenses and I do know a decent amount of information when it comes to properly printing images. Again, if you want to have the best camera setup, having a larger sensor will capture a lot more detail than an APS-C sensor, but you have to decide if that is worth it. The next thing you need to think about is, what are you shooting? This is a very important factor when it comes to camera bodies. Are you strictly shooting video, photos, or maybe a hybrid of both? Many camera brands are now coming out with hybrid full-frame mirrorless cameras that are basically the best of both worlds when it comes to photo and video. Although they have some of the best specs on the market, you will be paying a hefty price. In my experience, when it comes to different cameras, you gotta do the research. It's as simple as a quick Google search. When it comes to video cameras, megapixels don't really matter too much. For example, the Lumix GH5 is a micro four thirds camera with a 21 megapixel sensor. The sensor on this thing is even smaller than an APS-C sensor, but when it comes to video, the GH5 is a beast. It can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS and has crazy in-body stabilization. This is an awesome option for any beginners who are strictly shooting video and maybe want to start dabbling into photography. When it comes to photographers, megapixels do matter, as I stated before in my printing example. You will often see photographers start with an APS-C camera and then upgrade to something full frame, just because they will get a shallower depth of field and the quality of the photos will increase, which will then allow them to start selling their prints and charging more for photo sessions. Nikon and Canon both have great affordable full-frame cameras for those who maybe aren't interested in shooting video but would rather just stick to photography. Now when it comes to those who want to pursue both photography and videography, there are many options. So I'm going to use me as an example. I shoot photos and videos using a Sony a6400, which is a mirrorless APS-C camera. The autofocus is a huge plus when it comes to photos, as it's lightning fast. It has the ability to shoot 4K up to 30 FPS and 1080 up to 120 FPS. So it has everything I need when it comes to shooting video. The only downside to the a6000 lineup is the in-body stabilization. Most of them don't have it, and the ones that do don't work very well. Since I knew that I would be shooting video with it, I had to pick up a gimbal to use whenever I needed super stable shots, which set me back about $300. After using an a7 III on a few shoots, I was glad that I didn't decide to purchase a full frame because the a6400 was essentially the smaller, cheaper version of it. The main differences between the a7 III and the a6400 is that the a7 III has 2 SD card slots, slightly better in-body stabilization, and better low light performance. So I don't shoot weddings, so I didn't really need 2 card slots. And you're eventually going to end up getting a gimbal, so in-body stabilization isn't a deal breaker. But with the a6400 being an APS-C camera, it will struggle with low lighting compared to a full frame camera. This challenged me to get creative and to make light out of whatever I could find, which will eventually pay off in the long run. For me, getting an APS-C camera was a no-brainer, as they're budget-friendly, small and portable, and I'm not going to be blowing up my images to print on a billboard, so I don't really need a full frame right now. Will I upgrade in the future? Absolutely, but for now, I'm chilling with my a6400. So remember, the next time you ask yourself, do I really need that full frame camera? Think of these 3 things. Budget, where is your work being seen, and what are you shooting? If you can answer these questions and do a little bit of research on your own, you're already set. I hope you guys learned something from this video. Feel free to hit us in the comments down below or in my Instagram DMs at SitchPics with any camera related questions, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And this has been Sitch from Subtle Cinematics. Peace. Well, you know, it's not about the size of the sensor, but more so how you use it. Is that good?
Online said that full frame cameras were the best possible